Hey guys, it's Ashley. Welcome back to my channel. So in today's build, we're building in Willow Creek, if you couldn't already tell, and we're building this lovely little bungalow home. If you're not familiar with me or my builds, bungalow homes are like my favorite homes to build. I don't know what it is about them. They just look so charming, and I feel like they just look really realistic a lot of the times. But anyway, I wanted to build a home specifically for a very active and lively family. So what I mean by that is probably a family full of kids, a family that has working parents, and a family that doesn't mind a little bit of clutter. So I do have a family that I actually moved in here for playtesting purposes, but also it was a family that I've played off and on for probably about the last, 6 or so months. And I originally had them living in San Myshuno, and I decided to move them out of an apartment and move them into this nice little suburb of Willow Creek. And their old home really kind of like matches the vibes of this one. So I felt it only made sense. So we do end up cluttering up this build quite a bit. And I was thinking that these parents are just really involved in their kids' lives, whether that be sports, helping them with homework, going on vacations every, few months or something. I don't know. I was just thinking that they all pretty much get along pretty well, and they don't necessarily think to pick up after themselves all the times because they're just on the go and just caught up in having, more so close relationships with each other. Cleaning isn't so much of the priority, I guess, but it's not too much clutter. And another thing that kind of inspired this build was the idea behind the fact that I knew that we were getting the new everyday clutter kit. I think at this point, or must have at this point, been leaked that we were getting that kit. So that's what I wanted to go for here. There is none of that clutter in this because I did start building this before that kit was even available. But I think I did a good job with cluttering, but it's not too messy. I will say though that the teenage bedroom is definitely a little bit on the messy side. That's definitely more so like the messy sim of the household. But as you can see, the shell of this home is pretty much done at this point. We're just kind of fixing up and figuring out what I was going to do with the roof here. I often struggle with, just roofing. It's kind of awkward sometimes. And the way that you place a roof on a house can definitely change the look. So I often just get way too in my head and just critique myself way too hard when it comes to the roofing. So as you can see, we're struggling and experimenting a little bit here, but I end up making the landscaping of this house look rather overgrown, which I love. I think it gives houses so much more character. And of course, there's some builds where I want the yards to look very manicured and all of that. And I feel like that's kind of like a reflection of the inside of the home. So I felt like a super manicured yard just didn't match this family's vibe. It didn't match the inside of the home very well. So we do end up going into the live edit object menu here pretty soon and placing down some more overgrown looking plants. We end up placing some patches of grass, and I size them down a little bit so it's not too overwhelming, and just placing it just kind of in random various spots on the outside. And I do end up completely cutting out the floor plan because, as you can tell, this is just a very long video already as it is. And funny but not so funny story. So this is the second time I'm doing this voiceover, which is very painful to say because I did the full 37-minute voiceover and I went to play it back and edit it, and you can hear my heater running in the background probably the first 15 minutes. And I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. I didn't need to delete the whole entire voiceover, but my brain was very scattered today, especially when I did this voiceover, because I was just having a rough morning with my son. He's in a very fussy phase today, and he's been very grumpy. We are transitioning him out of his swaddle and having him sleep with his arms completely free. So it's been screwing up his naps and just night sleep and everything. So I wasn't running on very much sleep today, and he woke up in the middle of the voiceover, and I probably took like a 2-hour break on this voiceover because I was tending to him and things that he needed and whatnot. That's besides the point. So what I'm saying is I just needed to redo this voiceover, which again was very painful to do and to have to admit. But anyway, we have this lovely little detached garage, which I love the look of a detached garage, and I feel like that's another reason why I just love bungalow style homes. I feel like homes like this often have a detached garage, so I wanted to incorporate that here, and I wanted there to be access to all sides of the house from the front yard. So that's why we kind of wrap around the sidewalk, or I guess more of a pathway, so to the front and the back of the house. That way your Sims can easily get from one side of the house to the other. And I just thought it looked kind of nice. I often don't do that. And then I have like a ton of like weird empty grassy areas. So that was another reason too why I wanted to have a more overgrown look to this house. It just kind of gives it just more going on in the front. I don't know. I personally love the look of like a slightly overgrown yard, but that's just my opinion. Some people may disagree, but I do appreciate like a nice manicured yard too, whether it's in real life or in The Sims. But we do end up moving and kind of like reorienting. I don't even know if that's a word. We end up moving the garage up quite a few tiles because this driveway was just awkwardly long in my opinion. So we end up moving it, therefore having more space in the backyard. And we end up having a chicken coop over here off to the side behind the garage and some more overgrown plants. And we end up placing some fun kid items that I haven't gotten a chance to really mess around with just yet. Right around the time, I think it's called the Little Campers Kit. I could be wrong, but I want to say it is the Little Campers Kit. And I do think it's a kit, not a pack. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's a kit. I end up using some of those items out here as well. And I just, again, wanted it to look like there's just lots of life in this home, and like that kids were like literally just playing outside, you know, a couple hours ago. So their toys are still sitting out. I end up using the really cute like fort kind of, I think it's literally just like a fort, or I guess you could call it like a tent style thing out in the backyard. I mean, you guys, my adjectives are just amazing, right? But we end up placing that outside along with a swing set, a clothing line, a chicken coop, I think I already mentioned, and some planter boxes, because I was thinking that specifically the mom in my play and my idea of what I wanted to do with this home is that the mother is really into maybe not so much gardening specifically, but more so she's into flowers, and she has the flower arranging table in the backyard, and I was just thinking that that would be kind of a nice little characteristic or hobby for this sim to have. So we do end up placing several different planter boxes. We actually place, I think, 3 of the actual like square ones next to each other, and then off in a different area we end up placing like 3 or 4 of the circular ones. And in my game I end up having flowers in the more circular one, and then in the square one we have like different herbs and vegetables and things like that. But as you can see, I just sized down some of the little grassy patches and placed them at either end of the swing set, just to make it look like this swing set has, I don't know, been here a long time, and maybe the grass hasn't been mowed for, you know, a couple weeks or something, but nothing too crazy. And then we place a clothing line out here because we do end up having a designated laundry room area, which does include a dryer, but every now and then it's nice to be able to hang your clothes outside, you know, on a nice warm summer day or something. And then this is where we're kind of like messing around with the orientation of this backyard. And I just love the way that this entire build turned out. And I will say specifically though that I do love and I take a lot of pride in the way that the backyard ended up being, because I struggle with landscaping. Usually landscaping is the last thing I do in my builds, and sometimes I try to make it not seem that way. I know I've done this a couple times where I build the shell of a home and I, you know, have everything pretty much laid out on the inside, and then I do the landscaping last because it's just not my forte. And I don't know what happened here, but I just jumped into the landscaping, and I remember thinking in my head, like, should we do this, or should we hop inside first? But I feel like, well, when I was doing this, I just was on a roll with landscaping. So I was like, okay, we're rolling with it. We're going to keep doing this. I'm not going to interrupt this process of mine that just suddenly appeared out of nowhere. And we'll worry about the inside later, because I won't give up on the inside, but I do sometimes give up on the outside. And the outside of homes just don't always end up looking like how I would want them to, just when it comes to landscaping, not so much decorations or the home or anything like that. But I was really glad that I did that here, because I love the outside. I don't know. It's usually like my least favorite part of my builds is the landscaping, but here it really, really works. But anyway, you can see we're kind of messing around with the back patio area, and that was rather short-lived, and I just wanted to hop inside and start furnishing the kitchen, which is often the first thing I do in my builds after, the house has its floor plan and basically the bones of it put together. But I just love decorating kitchens because there's just so much good kitchen clutter. So it comes like natural to me to put together a kitchen, I feel, especially if it's in a good spot in the house. But we do end up actually kind of struggling with the layout of this, as I'm like talking about how usually it comes together so quickly for me. But this one, it was just kind of an awkward layout. I wanted there to be plenty of room in the living room because, again, I imagined this was somewhat more of a large family. Like, in my opinion, a family of 5 is kind of a lot, because I grew up in a family of 4. It's just me and my brother and my parents. And my husband and I only want to have 2 kids. My husband comes from a family of just him and his brother and his 2 parents. So to me, anything bigger than that is big. So I wanted there to be plenty of seating here and in the living room. And I felt like with this bar area, like the island and the chairs and the table, it was just a bit awkward and a little bit too busy for me. So we end up putting in a half wall right here. And that way there's still plenty of room in the living room for all of your Sims to sit down and watch a movie together or something like that. The floor plan comes together pretty well. I will say though, you'll see it a little bit later, but there's a portion of the house where it's like in between the entryway and the like office area. There's like an actual like closed in office downstairs, so you could potentially turn it into like an additional bedroom if you wanted to have more kids in this family. But I dedicated it to like a study/office area. But there's like this big empty awkward space in the downstairs that you'll see here soon that I definitely got past it, because to me, it wasn't that big of a deal. This is a rather larger house with a larger family living in it. So it didn't completely bother me that there was a lot of space in the middle, but it is a bit awkward and too big, kind of. But we leave it, and I try to clutter it up as best as I can and to the best of my ability without reusing too many things. Like, instead of like reusing the same plants and the same clutter over and over again, I didn't want it to be too repetitive, but I feel like I ended up pulling it together pretty well. You'll see what I'm talking about here pretty soon, but we're still just cluttering up the kitchen. I was also thinking, I'm not sure if you noticed, I had placed down 2 pet food bowls, and at first I was thinking they'll just have one pet. They'll probably have like a cat or something, because I really wanted to place a litter box in one of the bathrooms. Specifically, I was thinking it would look good in the downstairs bathroom, again, just to give it more life, and like there's just a lot going on in this house at all times. So I placed down 2 pet food bowls, and originally I was like, well, we're just going to pretend that one of them is for water. And then I was like, you know what? This family can have 2 pets, so if you'd like, you can have 2 cats here. But I think with the family that I have living here, assuming I play them for a little while, because I do that a lot, where I'll build a house and then I go to play test with an ideal family, and then I end up playing with them for like a few weeks, and then I decide to play a different family in a different build, yada yada. I assume you know where I'm going with this, but I'll do that for a while, and this family doesn't have any pets. So I was thinking that they would probably adopt a cat first, because they have all the necessary essentials for a cat. They have a cat scratching post, they have the litter box, and they have the cat condo. And I was thinking, well, you know what? They can get a dog too. Like, it'd be fun to have a dog. Again, this is a lively family home. So having pets around and kids and chickens, I felt was just perfect for this style and kind of what I was going for here. So yes, move in your pets if you'd like, is basically what I'm trying to get at. As you can see, we are changing the color of this downstairs. Just the all white wasn't doing it for me. And I do that in pretty much all of my builds, where when I first start furnishing a home, I really just base the wallpaper and the paint and all that around what furniture I'm using. So often the color of the walls or the wallpaper, whatever I decide to do, is usually the last thing that I'll do. So that's what we did. And I felt like this light blue doesn't necessarily match super well, but it goes, like it works. But I'm trying to just find some essential clutter for this home, and I'm kind of like jumping all over the place, as I always do. I struggle with just sticking to one specific area or one room at a time, because I'm just always afraid that, like, say for example, what I'm doing right now is I'm going through different clutter items, and I'm trying to figure out where I want clutter to be. And I'll come across something that I'm like, oh, this would work perfect for this room. Let's go up there really quick and throw that in there. Oh, this item would work really good here. Let's go here. And sometimes I get completely unfocused and I start decorating or furnishing a room and like leaving the room that I started in just empty or unfinished. Like, I do it so often. It's a very big flaw of mine, because I think that's why sometimes I lose motivation and just like the focus when it comes to decorating and furnishing these homes. Like, I definitely need to work on it. And I feel like as a viewer, it's really hard to watch people do that. Like, all the builders that I watch on YouTube are pretty good about sticking to one room at a time. And I admire that, because that is just not the way that I build. And that's literally just the chaos in my brain. I'm just very like one-track mind, but also not, because if you think about it, you'd think a one-track mind would be like, finish this room first and then move on to the next. But no, it's literally just like, I see an item in front of me that I know would work really well somewhere else, and then I hop over there, and then I hop to a different room, and I hop to a different room. And then sometimes, in a not so perfect world, I'll go through and start playtesting and taking screenshots, and I realize, oh yeah, we didn't finish this. And then I have to finish it off camera. Like, it's ridiculous. But anyway, we are just trying to fill this area. This is the space that I was talking about that is just awkwardly large. Like, I was considering maybe putting like an additional bedroom down here, but I didn't know how to like lay it out. And I didn't want to close off the front entryway from the rest of the house too much. I don't know. I could have definitely gotten away with like having another hallway in here. Now that I think about it, I'm almost like debating on doing that. Tough decision. I do this a lot too, where I change things after the fact. And of course, it's kind of like one thing when it comes to like playtesting and realizing, okay, this isn't functional, like let's move this, or let's change up the like this room a little bit. Like, for example, I have to end up deleting the clothes on the floor later, because my sim just wouldn't go from the bathroom to the laundry room and vice versa, and it kind of defeats the purpose of attaching the two with a door. So I ended up deleting it, which I was a little bummed about, because again, I wanted this family to come off as a little bit cluttered. So we have to get rid of that. But I don't know, I'll like change stuff after the fact, and then the screenshots will often be a little bit different than what you see while I'm building. Usually it's nothing too crazy, and if it is, I will address it. So I'm letting you know right now that when you see the screenshots, there may or may not be like more walls in that big awkward entryway, because it's just so big and awkward. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it. But anyway, we've now moved on into the downstairs bathroom. This does end up being a full bath. I figured even though all the Sims have ensuite bathrooms, it would be nice to have another place for your Sims to potentially take a shower, take a bath, whatever they'd like. But ultimately, I was thinking this would be the bathroom that they would use when they're downstairs. This would be the bathroom that their guests would use. And we do end up placing the cat litter box in here. So this is definitely the bathroom that the cat will be using, or the multiple cats, whatever you decide. And I do end up switching out this toilet for the one from Tiny Living. I felt it was just a bit more generic looking, and that's kind of what I was going for here. I apologize if I already said this, because again, this is the second time I am recording this voiceover, but I wanted this house to look very storybook-like, very like dollhousey, and kind of like generic. Like I wanted lots of bright colors and things like that. I hope that makes sense how I'm explaining it, but so I end up switching out these counters for the ones from Parenthood. They're the same counters that I used throughout the entire kitchen. I just still end up using like a nice baby blue swatch for that bathroom as well. Because again, I just wanted it to be like, I don't know, kind of cutesy and just, I don't know, just a bit more generic, I guess is like a good way to put it. But see, I don't even know if I was fully done with the bathroom, and now we're in the front entryway. Like I just get so, I don't know, just like unfocused and distracted, I guess is a good way to put it. I get distracted with just my brain just literally distracts me, and just things that I'm looking at, I just tend to get a little unfocused. But I do like the way that this entryway turned out. I feel like it does look busy, but not too busy. But you can tell that there's lots of people that live in this house based on all the pairs of shoes that I placed down, which was definitely the goal. That is what I wanted going into decorating this front entryway. And there's a nice little seat here, a little love seat, so your Sims can sit down and put their shoes on and whatnot. But I end up placing the little height chart over here because, again, I just want it to be very obvious and apparent that there are kids that live here, and it's just a very adorable little household, I guess. And then here I'm trying to figure out what the heck are we doing with this big awkward space. So I end up placing another backpack down here in a different swatch, so it's not too repetitive. But again, there's 3 kids living here, so you're probably going to come across more than just one backpack sitting around. And I end up placing not like a love seat, but like, I want to say it's from the kids room stuff pack. It's like a little window seat, or at least what I would consider a window seat, like just being like an ottoman style seat that you would put like at the end of the bed or like under a window. Like that's why I see it as a window seat, but I end up placing it there instead of that dog bed or pet bed, I guess. Now we are in the office area, and again, I wanted this to look very kid friendly, so we have lots of colorful books in here, and I feel like there's a combination of books and binders and notebooks and all that in that bookcase. And the family that I do have living here, the dad is a freelance programmer and the mom is a teacher. So I end up placing 2 computers in here because the freelance programmer definitely works from home, and the teacher has the option to work from home in that career. So I thought it would be fun to have 2 computers in here. And if one of your Sims, was doing homework or a project or an essay, something like that on the computer, the other child Sims can be, playing a computer game or doing homework on the computer as well, even though your Sims don't actually do that in game. I just thought it would be nice to have 2 computers in here, and I felt like having the island style countertops in here instead of like a normal traditional desk that you would imagine being in an office, I felt this seemed more like family friendly and more like custom, like it's a built-in piece. So I wanted to incorporate that in here. I've done that in quite a few of my builds in the past, so I wanted to do that here. It just kind of came naturally to me when I was thinking about the family that would be living here. But we're pretty much done with this room, and I think we end up hopping upstairs. I can't remember if I mentioned this or not already, but I do end up, I obviously already did cut out the floor plan because this video was going to be way too long. And again, I apologize if I already said that, because it's just that's the one big thing that sucks about having to redo a voiceover is I don't remember what I already talked about, and then I feel like a broken record. And then when I go back to edit the video, I'm like, oh, I already mentioned that. Like, that's kind of annoying and makes me come off as like kind of stupid, but you guys will understand where I'm coming from since I explained to you that this is the second time I'm doing this voiceover. But now we are on into what I imagine would be the teenager's bedroom, and I end up making this room very feminine. It's not too feminine, but I feel like the bed in general is just very feminine. Like the frame seems very feminine to me. And I end up playing around with lots of different swatches of different items from different packs. I make the furniture in this room very mismatchy, but it still all like works really well together. Like none of the furniture is from the same furniture set, if you will. A lot of the times, like if I'm placing down a specific dresser, I feel like I have to have the matching bed and the matching side tables and the matching lamp and all of that. But here I wanted to not do that. I wanted it to be rather mismatchy. And I was thinking that this sim is really into art. Like I end up placing an easel in here, but it doesn't end up working out. When I play test, it was blocking the bathroom and the bed and the dresser and all that. And obviously your sim needs to get to all of those things. So I end up moving the easel down to the front patio area, which I think actually works out really well down there because that is kind of like a big empty space as well. And I just love the way an easel looks on like a front porch. I just think it's like a really cute addition. But I was thinking that the sim is really into art and plays the guitar. Maybe they're not really good at the guitar. They just like to kind of like mess around with it a little bit. And I was thinking maybe they're into thrifting, and that's why they have so many different pieces of furniture in here. There's some shelves and like cabinets that we got from the high school years pack, and I end up placing one of those in here, and it's kind of like awkward looking at first, but I feel like I pull it together pretty well to make it seem more like it belongs there. So it's this little like small black cabinet, or shelf rather. It's kind of like a cabinet though. And I don't know, it was just a bit small and awkward. So I ended up placing like a nice big tapestry behind it, and I clutter it up a little bit with like a candle, I think maybe a plant or something. And it just kind of works as like a console table would. It's just really short. It's this black one right here. But I really liked this swatch, and that's kind of when I decided, okay, well, maybe the sim's into thrifting, and it kind of makes sense because we have like mismatched furniture in here and all that. So that's what I was going for in here. And again, this is the sim that I imagined is definitely the messiest of the family. So we've got lots of different posters and paintings and all that on the wall. I end up placing those canvases. They're like blank canvases. I think they're a locked item, so you'd have to use a cheat to unlock them. Or just when you're building, when you don't have like an actual sim on the lot with you, all the items are automatically unlocked. So that's typically what I do. There are these blank canvases right here that I'm trying to figure out where to put them. I just felt that it made perfect sense for this sim to just have a bit more of a cluttered room. And we have lots of different items that I could mess around with and make that just like work out really well in here. And then we end up hopping into this sim's ensuite bathroom. And pretty much all of these bathrooms are the same. We end up using, I think for the most part, the same shower tub combo, except for in the parents' bedroom or bathroom. They end up having the nicer shower tub combo, but they all have the same toilets, the same countertops, the same sconces, the same wallpaper and flooring. So I do end up cutting out or just not even recording altogether the other two bathrooms, but they will be in the screenshots, of course, because I don't want to leave anything out. But just making this bathroom very personalized to this sim, because again, this is her very own bathroom. She doesn't have to share it with anybody. And since she is the messier of the 5 sims, I wanted to add in a little bit of extra clutter in here. And the other bathrooms are very simple, very minimal. They literally just have like, you know, your normal clutter, like toothbrushes, maybe a stack of towels, and some soap, and that's pretty much it. And yeah, I end up moving this little table, this console table, to the other wall because there's no way your sim will be able to get in and out of the master bedroom with that there. So we end up placing this mirror and a plant here, and this upstairs landing is very simple, very unpersonalized, personalized. It's just kind of like whatever. And then now we are in the twins' bedroom, or what I imagine would be the twins' bedroom. So I make this just really kitty, and it's not at all more masculine or more feminine. It's just very colorful and fun, and I feel like it just really works perfectly for the family that I was going for here. Again, there's just lots of activities to do in here, lots of personalized clutter, but again, doesn't sway more toward feminine or masculine. So I thought that was fun, and that's why I feel like it's perfect for really any family that you have move in here, specifically this room. I mean, the teenager's bedroom is definitely more feminine in my opinion, but of course you guys are free to change any of my builds to fit a certain family that you see fit there. But I want to just have lots of kid-friendly clutter and items in here. I just imagine that as much as these kids enjoy playing outside in that fort from the little campers kit, I feel that they do love playing inside as well. And they have this nice little desk, like nook area where they can write in their journal, maybe do their homework there. Maybe when they eventually grow into this room and become teenagers, they can have a laptop or a computer there. But I felt that wasn't super necessary since we do have a designated like office/den study area. So I wanted to have as many skill building items as possible in here, because when I play, my play style is very like family friendly, family oriented. So I love when my Sims have like good qualities and characteristics about them. So writing in their journal helps with emotional control, and I thought that would be perfect. So that's why I placed that down. And then I just place a little stack of books here. I thought maybe the Sim that sleeps on this bottom bunk is just really into reading, and every night before bed, maybe they read under the covers or something. So I just thought that was a nice little like cluttered, like specific personality characteristic addition to place down there. I don't know how many more words I can throw into that sentence. But after this, I think we head into the parents' bedroom. It's hard to say because like I mentioned earlier, I'm always like all over the place with my builds. But I'd say the garage, the garage, that's another thing that I did have to cut out, because again, this video is so long and I love the way the garage turns out. I mean, I know it's just a garage, it's nothing that crazy, and it's very like typical for a garage. Like we have some like built-in cabinets in there and some like junk and things like that, but it's also like a functional space too. I end up placing a ping pong table in there, a cheerleading mat, and the table it's like a little set from the little campers kit. It's like this nice little rustic looking painted table and chairs set, and your Sims can play Don't Break the Llama and cards on it. So I thought that would be nice. So the garage is definitely more of like an additional play space for your Sims, like almost like a bonus room kind of. So they don't use it to park their cars because again, they have this really long driveway. So they utilize that area for skill building and fun little activities. So I thought that was kind of a nice addition, but I unfortunately did have to cut that out of the build because again, it was just so long, but it is in the screenshots, and my cat just jumped up onto the desk. So hopefully he doesn't rub on the mic too much, because he does love to do that. It's like he always knows when I'm recording and he's just like, you know what, I'm going to come and make some noise. But anyway, we're just finishing up the parents' bedroom right now, just trying to figure out how to make this area look more lived in, because this is definitely a more like typical, like in my opinion, more minimal bedroom, but it's also like big and like kind of an awkward space. So I didn't really know how to clutter it up too much. And now we are pretty much finishing up the back porch area. I wanted there to be some additional space for your Sims to eat outside, even though when they're on this like back porch and this front porch area, the game registers it as being inside. But I like to pretend that your Sims are eating outside, even though they're definitely like inside essentially. Just adding some flowers to the exterior of the home. We end up adding some plants and more additional flowers out here because I just didn't know what to do with this space. And this is where we do end up adding in the easel. I do that later when I play test, so it's not like on camera right now, but you'll see it in the screenshots. And then I think we are coming up to the end. Are we not? I don't even know. Yep, we're on the screenshots, you guys. I'm like, I don't even know because I can't see the end. But thank you guys so much for watching. I apologize for it being such a long video. But there's lots of people that do really enjoy these long builds, and I mean, it is what it is. I tried to shorten it as much as I could. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. All my socials are linked down below in the description box, and I hope to see you in a future build. Bye.